how women are secretly testing you, and why most men fail. According to Machiavelli, the moment you step into the room, you enter an invisible arena, one where the rules are unspoken, yet every movement betrays you. It is a silent war, fought in the shadows of glances and the pauses between words. No one announces the battle, but you feel the weight of it pressing down on your chest, tightening like a noose around your throat. This is where you are tested, not by overt challenges, but by the subtle calculus of perception and expectation. You wonder if they see the man you think you are, or the one you fear you might be. Every hesitation, every falter, every moment of silence becomes a crack in your armor. The air is thick with judgment you can neither escape nor confront directly. You become painfully aware that your value is being weighed on a scale you cannot touch. What if you fail without knowing why? What if your deepest insecurities are whispered back to you through eyes that never blink? Here, vulnerability is your greatest risk and your most dangerous weapon. To be seen is to be exposed, but to hide is to lose before the game begins. The tension between these two forces, the desire to reveal and the need to protect, coils inside you like a serpent ready to strike. You ask yourself, how much can you reveal without shattering? How much must you conceal before you become a ghost in your own story? This arena is not built for innocence or ignorance. It is forged in the crucible of silent observation, where power is measured in subtle dominance and quiet control. Every glance is a question, every smile a test, every silence a verdict. You're not merely interacting. You're being decoded, your essence dissected under the microscope of unspoken standards. Feel the sting of this truth. Most men walk into this space blindfolded, unaware that the game has already begun. They react, they stumble, they plead for understanding that will never come. You must do better. You must learn to read the language of shadows and mirrors. To survive here, you must become a master of the unseen. This is not a place for the faint-hearted or the unprepared. Here, weakness is a slow poison, and uncertainty is the cage that confines you. But recognize this, within this invisible arena lies the seed of your greatest transformation. When you learn to navigate these silent trials, you transcend their power over you. You no longer endure the test, you become the test itself. You are being watched, not for who you pretend to be, but for who you truly are beneath the surface. And that is the ultimate confrontation. The question is no longer if you will pass, but whether you have the courage to face the cold mirror of their gaze. Because in this arena, the greatest enemy is the man who refuses to look inward, who fights shadows instead of embracing his own darkness. So listen closely to the quiet tension around you. Feel the invisible eyes probing, the subtle traps laid in every word unspoken. This is the battlefield of power and perception, where the weak fall without a sound and the strong rise like specters from the ashes of expectation. You are already here. The question is, will you survive? Will you emerge whole? Or will you be lost forever in the silence of the unseen test? You think you see the test before you. You sense it in the words spoken, the questions asked, the actions taken. But that is the first illusion, the one that traps most men in a maze of misunderstanding. Tests are never as straightforward as they appear. They wear the mask of mystery draped in shadows and contradictions, hiding their true nature behind a veil of subtlety so thin only the keenest eye can pierce it. You reach out, desperate to grasp something concrete, something real. But the harder you try to define the test, the more it slips through your fingers like smoke. Why? Because the test is never about the surface. It is a probe into the depths, into the hidden chambers of your spirit, the silent architecture of your mind. It is a challenge not to what you show, but to what you conceal. The real battlefield lies in what remains unseen, unspoken, unyielding beneath your carefully constructed facade. Machiavelli taught that appearances are the currency of power, yet reality lurks beneath every mask. You understand this intellectually, but do you feel it in your bones? The test you face is a living paradox, demanding clarity and mystery simultaneously. You must become both the known and the unknowable, a riddle wrapped in your own silence. To be fully visible is to be vulnerable. To be entirely hidden is to surrender control. This is why most men fail. They rush to reveal too much, believing transparency is strength. Others hide so deeply, they become ghosts, disconnected, unreadable, powerless. The true mastery is in controlled ambiguity, in holding the tension between what is shown and what is withheld. You learn to weave your presence like smoke, tangible enough to command attention, elusive enough to inspire curiosity and respect. Ask yourself, what parts of you do you willingly expose? Which parts remain locked away behind iron doors? And more importantly, why? Every test is a question about your boundaries, not just where they lie, but how well you guard them. The test does not seek your answers. It tests your ability to withhold them, to resist the temptation to explain, to justify, to collapse under the weight of expectation. You must become fluent in this silent language, the language of shadows that shift and breathe. This is the art of reading between the lines, of sensing the cracks in the facade without ever giving away your own. Each test you face is a mirror held up to your ability to dance with contradiction, to maintain equilibrium amid the chaos of perception. You are both the observer and the observed, the seeker and the guardian. There is power in ambiguity, power that sharpens your instincts and deepens your presence. When you allow yourself to be fully understood, you lose your leverage. When you become a puzzle, you gain command. The mask of mystery is not deception, it is strategic revelation. It is the difference between being a pawn moved by others and becoming the player who sets the board. You feel the cold weight of this truth. Clarity can be a trap. To be clear is to be pinned down, categorized, dissected. The strongest men know how to speak with silence, how to communicate through absence. They understand that sometimes the most profound message is the one left unsaid, a pause that echoes louder than words. This mastery over your own opacity disarms the test before it even begins. What if you approached every test not as a threat, but as an invitation? An invitation to shed the desperate need to be understood and instead embody the enigma that commands respect. To wear your mask not as a shield, but as a crown. This shift in perspective changes everything. The test becomes less about surviving scrutiny and more about wielding your unseen power with precision. You are no longer a subject to examination. You are the architect of your own mystery. This is not manipulation born of deceit, but the wisdom of knowing that true strength lies in what you withhold, not what you give away. The test is a reflection of your ability to balance light and shadow within yourself, to navigate the labyrinth of perception without losing your way. In this intricate dance, you become both predator and prey, knowing when to reveal your teeth and when to retreat into the dark. This is the essence of controlled ambiguity, the delicate equilibrium between exposure and concealment. It is the secret weapon of those who understand that power is never absolute, but always fluid, shifting with every glance, every word, every silence. So ask yourself again, are you prepared to step beyond the obvious, to look past the mask of the test and into its heart of shadows? Because only there will you find the truth that disarms the unprepared mind and crowns the master of the unseen game. Silence is not emptiness. It is a weight heavy, deliberate, a presence that fills the space between words with something far more dangerous. You feel it pressing against your chest, an invisible force that demands you respond, demands you break the quiet with noise. But what if true power lies in resisting that urge? In mastering the unbearable stillness that tests your every impulse. This is the trial you face, the silence that speaks louder than any declaration, the pause that measures your resolve more precisely than any question. It is here, in this crucible of quiet, that your strength is laid bare. The absence of sound is no refuge. It is a battlefield where your patience, your control, your inner calm are dissected with ruthless precision. You might feel the rising panic, the trembling need to fill the void with words, words that explain, justify, prove your worth. But listen closely. Every word you utter in this silence chips away at your power, because silence, when wielded with intention, is a fortress. It is the voice that echoes beyond the reach of speech, the signal that you are not desperate for approval, not hungry for validation. Machiavelli understood the value of timing, the power in waiting, in knowing when to strike and when to hold back. Silence is your ally in this strategy. It is the still point around which chaos spins. When others rush to fill the void, you become the immovable center, the unshaken rock in a storm of noise. This silence is not passive. It is an act of supreme control. It demands that you sit with discomfort, that you resist the primal urge to react. The test is not just to endure the silence, but to embody it, to let your very presence carry the weight of unspoken authority. In this, your absence of speech becomes a statement far more compelling than any declaration. Feel the pressure, the eyes, the expectant breaths, the shifting energy, all focused on you, waiting for a crack, a hint of weakness. This is no ordinary silence. It is a crucible designed to unmask the uncertain, the insecure. But you are not them. You have learned to meet this silence without flinching, without filling it with empty noise. What does it mean to command silence? It means you have mastered the inner dialogue that fights for expression and dismissed its frantic demands. You have embraced the void, understanding that silence can communicate confidence, mystery, and power all at once. It is the pause that unsettles the challenger, the stillness that commands respect. In this quiet, you are both vulnerable and invincible. The unspoken words are weapons you wield with surgical precision, releasing them only when the moment demands. You learn to speak not just through sound, but through the heavy weight of your presence, through the stillness that holds the room captive. Ask yourself, how often have you fled from silence, desperate to fill the gaps with meaningless noise? How often have you misunderstood silence as weakness? It is anything but. It is the language of kings and strategists, the breath before the decisive move, the shadow where power gathers unseen. This trial forces you to confront your deepest fears, the fear of being ignored, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of not measuring up. But with each moment you endure, you grow stronger. Silence strips away the need for external validation and forces you to find that strength within. You become your own witness, your own judge, your own ruler. There is a sacred tension in silence, a dance of restraint and presence that few can master. It demands your full attention, your full control. And when you finally break the silence, your words carry the weight of mountains, not the scatter of pebbles. You speak with the clarity of one who has conquered the trial, who has tamed the unbearable pressure of the unspoken. In this space, power is no longer about loud declarations or desperate explanations. It is about knowing when to hold back, when to wait, and when to let silence roar. You learn that true authority is quiet, a steady flame burning beneath the surface, never needing to scream to be seen. so feel the silence. Own the discomfort it brings. Let it sharpen you, temper you, forge you into a presence that speaks without sound. This is your trial, your crucible, your secret weapon. Master it, and you master the invisible arena where words fail and power speaks. You stand before a mirror that reflects not the image you wish to see, but the raw, unfiltered truth of who you are. No mask can soften this reflection. No distraction can shield you from the cold, merciless gaze that peers back. This mirror is the ultimate test, the crucible that separates the pretenders from the sovereign. It asks one question, relentless and unforgiving. Can you face yourself without flinching? Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the battlefield where your spirit either breaks or transcends. You feel the weight of this truth pressing down. Every fear, every shadow you've tried to bury rising up to meet your gaze. The parts of you that you hide from others, you must now confront alone. The rage you swallow, the shame you bury, the longing you deny, all laid bare beneath this unforgiving light. Machiavelli never spoke of vulnerability with tenderness. For him, power was the currency, and the appearance of control the armor. Yet beneath the armor lies the secret weapon few dare wield, honesty with yourself. To confront your darkness without denial is to claim a power no external force can take. It is the place where illusions dissolve, leaving only the unbreakable core of your being. You must look deeper, beyond the surface flaws, beyond the stories you tell yourself to justify your fears. This mirror reveals the raw impulses that churn beneath your control, the anger, the desire, the self-doubt. To deny them is to weaken your foundation. To own them is to transform that energy into your greatest strength. Feel the tension of this moment, the urge to look away, to retreat into the comfort of denial. But what if you hold your gaze? What if you embrace the chaos inside rather than fight it? In that embrace lies the birth of something fierce and indomitable. The moment you accept your darkness without shame, you no longer fear it. You command. This is why so many men shatter here. They encounter their own reflection and see only fragments, broken pieces that tell a story of failure. They run from the mirror, from the truth, from themselves. But you are not the shattered. You are the one who stands steady, even as the mirror cracks and distorts. Because you have learned that vulnerability is not surrender, it is the deepest form of power. Ask yourself, how much of your true self are you willing to reveal? Not to others, but to yourself. How long have you hidden behind masks crafted from fear and pride? This test is not about performing strength. It is about owning every part of your humanity, the light and the shadow intertwined. In this reflection, you find the paradox of power. The softer your honesty, the harder your resolve. Vulnerability demands courage, the courage to be seen fully and without apology. It strips away the pretense until only the essence remains. And that essence, raw and unguarded, is more formidable than any facade. You are invited to step into this mirror, not as a victim of your flaws, but as a master of your truth. The pain you feel is the flame that purifies, burning away the lies you have carried. Through this fire, you emerge tempered and stronger, your spirit forged in the depths of brutal self-awareness. This is your spiritual battleground. The moment you face yourself without flinching is the moment you stop being a slave to your fears. You reclaim your sovereignty, no longer at the mercy of illusion or external judgment. In this ruthless honesty, you find freedom. The test does not end with confrontation, it begins there, because vulnerability is a living, breathing force. It demands that you continue to face yourself daily, to walk the line between strength and softness, between certainty and doubt. This is the path of the enlightened, the path few dare to walk. So, look again into the mirror. See not a fractured man, but a warrior of truth, a guardian of his own soul. This vulnerability you resist is the gateway to mastery. To fail this test is to remain captive to your shadows. To pass is to rise, unbroken, unafraid, and utterly sovereign. You are not merely a participant in this silent contest. You're a dancer on a stage unseen, moving to rhythms no one else hears. This dance is ancient, predatory, and precise. It is a choreography written in glances, pauses, and subtle shifts in energy. The steps are never taught aloud. They are whispered in the spaces between words, in the cracks of conversation. To survive and dominate, you must learn to read this invisible language with ruthless grace. Power is not a blunt force. It is a fluid current, flowing and retreating, pulling and releasing. It thrives in ambiguity and hesitation, in the unspoken exchange that passes like electricity beneath the surface. Women, consciously or not, conduct this dance with expert intuition. Their tests are not loud battles, but delicate movements designed to probe your rhythm, your timing, your ability to hold balance amid shifting forces. Can you feel it? The way control is never absolute, but always in motion. One moment you lead, the next you follow, yet the illusion of command must never falter. This is the mastery of power, to be both the storm and the calm, the shadow and the light, the hunter and the hunted. When you learn to move with this duality, you stop reacting and begin orchestrating. This dance demands awareness beyond the surface. The flicker of an eye, the slight tilt of a head, the barely audible shift in tone, all these are signals. They are the encoded instructions in a game where the stakes are invisible but devastatingly real. To miss these cues is to stumble, to falter, to reveal weakness. But to catch them, before they even fully form, is to seize control without ever seeming to try. Machiavelli taught that power is rooted in perception, that reality is shaped by appearances rather than truth. In this dance, perception is everything. You must cloak your intentions in shadow, hiding your strategies behind smiles and silence. Power is not wielded by those who shout their presence, but by those who command the room with a whisper, a glance, a subtle shift of weight. You must become a master of fluidity, never rigid, never predictable. Like water flowing around stones, you adapt to the shape of each encounter. When tested, you do not resist or push back directly. You redirect, absorb, and transform pressure into momentum. The dance is not about winning every battle, but about maintaining your rhythm, your presence, your unbreakable center. Ask yourself, how often have you tried to force control, to impose your will like a hammer, when what was needed was the precision of a blade? How often have you been blinded by the desire to dominate, missing the quiet power of yielding? The dance teaches that surrender is not defeat, but a strategic retreat, a preparation to strike when the moment is right. This is why so many men fail. They see power as a contest of brute force, rather than a delicate balance of influence. They rush, they roar, they overcommit. But power, real power, is subtle, hidden in the nuances that slip past the untrained eye. It lives in the space where control is shared, negotiated, and sometimes surrendered, only to be reclaimed stronger. You must train your senses to detect these shifts before they become obvious. Feel the pull, sense the hesitation, read the intention beneath the smile. In this, you become not just a participant, but a conductor of the dance. Your movements are deliberate, your presence magnetic. You hold the tension of the moment, controlling the pace and the flow, with a calm that unsettles those who cannot keep up. The dance of power is a constant flux, a battlefield without weapons, a war of shadows and signals. You learn to thrive in this instability, to wield ambiguity as a weapon, to make every gesture count. The challenge is not to overpower, but to outmaneuver, to let others believe they hold the reins while you guide. The horse, power in this dance, is a whisper, not a shout. It is the unspoken command that bends reality to your will without resistance. It is the invisible thread you pull to shift the balance when no one else notices. To master this is to step beyond reaction and into creation, to shape every encounter with the artistry of a true strategist, so feel the rhythm beneath your feet. Sense the invisible currents around you. This is your arena, your battlefield, your stage. To succeed is to move with intention, with awareness, with a ruthless grace that no one sees coming, but everyone feels. In this dance, control is never seized, it is choreographed. You stand at the edge of the abyss, where countless men before you have fallen, lost to confusion, swallowed by rejection, buried beneath the weight of their own self-doubt. This is the crucible of judgment, the moment when the silent tests you face reveal their brutal truth. It is here, in this merciless arena, that the unprepared break and the enlightened rise. Ask yourself, why do so many fail? Not from lack of desire, but from a fundamental blindness to the nature of the game itself. It is not enough to want power, to crave connection, to chase approval with desperate urgency. Desire without understanding is a flame flickering in a storm, fragile, erratic, doomed to sputter out. You have seen it, the men who charge forward with impulsive force, who react rather than respond, who seek to conquer rather than comprehend. Their failure is not accidental. It is the inevitable consequence of missing the essence beneath the surface. This test is not about winning someone's favor or proving your worth through loud declarations. It is a silent verdict cast on your inner landscape, the strength of your spirit, the depth of your control, the precision of your strategy. Most men stumble because they confuse action for mastery. They mistake volume for presence, haste for power, and vulnerability for weakness. Insecurity is the poison that corrodes their resolve. It whispers lies in their ear. You must prove yourself. You must be liked. You must be enough. These lies drive them to overextend, to reveal too much, to betray their own rhythm in desperate attempts to be seen, to be chosen. Yet true power lies in restraint, in the quiet confidence of knowing you are already whole, already sovereign. You do not plead, you command. You do not reveal all. You hold your cards close. Impulsivity is the trapdoor beneath their feet. In the crucible of judgment, every misstep is magnified, every rash decision a fracture in their armor. To act without calculation is to hand your fate over to chance, to be swept away by currents you cannot control. The test demands a mind sharpened by patience, a heart tempered by silence, and a will that moves like shadow, unseen until it strikes. Shallow understanding is their downfall. They seek power on the surface, through charm, status, possessions, while neglecting the invisible architecture that supports true mastery. They do not see the layers beneath the dance, the unspoken rules woven into every glance and pause. They cannot perceive the weight of presence or the subtle shifts of energy. They mistake noise for signal, performance for substance. You, however, stand apart. You know this moment is not a punishment but a revelation, a mirror held up to your soul. It demands that you face your flaws without flinching, that you acknowledge the cracks in your armor without despair. The crucible is not a place to hide, but to be forged. Each failure you witness around you is a lesson carved into the bedrock of your resolve. Feel the fire igniting within you, the fierce determination to rise above the common fate. The pain of witnessing others fall fuels a quiet rage, a refusal to be swallowed by the abyss. This is the moment when desperation transforms into discipline, when chaos is tempered by clarity. You learn that failure is not the enemy, but the teacher, and that only by embracing its harsh lessons can you transcend it. Ask yourself, what will you do differently when judgment falls? Will you collapse beneath its weight, or will you stand unshaken, calm, deliberate, sovereign? The choice is not given lightly, nor is it permanent. Each test is an invitation to evolve, to strip away illusion and step into your true power. This crucible reveals the essence of your character, the capacity to endure, to adapt, to master. It strips away the superficial and lays bare the core. Here, in this relentless arena, you confront the ultimate question. Are you the man who fails, or the man who transforms? The stakes are higher than you realize. Failure here is not merely rejection by another. It is the surrender of your potential, the loss of your inner throne. But success is not guaranteed by luck or charm. It is earned through ruthless self-awareness, strategic patience, and the unwavering command of your own spirit. So steel yourself. The crucible of judgment awaits, not as a threat, but as a proving ground. Step forward with eyes wide open, heart steady, mind sharp. To pass is to claim your sovereignty. To fail is to become another shadow, lost to the silence. You are not lost. You are the flame that will burn through the darkness, the force that will rewrite the rules. This is your reckoning. Will you rise? You step out from the shadows of the crucible, no longer a man defined by tests and trials, but a master who moves with the quiet certainty of one who has seen beneath the surface. This is not mere survival, it is transcendence. The battles you once feared have transformed into rituals that refine your spirit rather than threaten it. You carry now a presence that speaks without sound, a power that commands without force. You are no longer caught in the fray. You walk above it, a sovereign in a realm most never glimpse. Ask yourself, what does it mean to be a master of the invisible art? It is to understand that every glance, every word, every silence is part of a sacred dance, an eternal interplay of shadows and light. Power is not the roar of conquest, but the subtle whisper of control. It is a quiet flame burning deep within, casting no shadow, but illuminating all around. You recognize the secret rules that govern connection, the unspoken contracts written in energy and intention. You no longer react. You respond. You no longer chase. You attract. The tests that once loomed as threats now serve as mirrors reflecting your growing mastery. Each challenge is an invitation to deepen your understanding, to sharpen your intuition, to embody a presence so magnetic that resistance dissolves. This is the path where fear is replaced by fearless clarity, where doubt gives way to unwavering conviction. In this elevated state, you see the world not as a battlefield, but as a stage, a place where the dance of power unfolds with elegance and precision. You learn to move with fluidity, adapting without losing your center. Your strength lies not in domination, but in balance, in the harmony between shadow and light. You hold the paradox of power and vulnerability, wielding both as tools of transformation. The spiritual power you now embody radiates from a place beyond ego, beyond desire. It is the quiet sovereignty of a man who has faced his own darkness and emerged whole. You understand that true mastery is not control over others, but control over self. The calm in the eye of the storm, the stillness beneath the noise. This is the ultimate authority, the throne from which you govern your life with wisdom and grace. What will you do with this mastery? Will you retreat into solitude, or will you step boldly into the world, carrying your light as a beacon for others lost in the shadows? The path of the master is not a destination, but a continual ascent, a journey into deeper layers of self-awareness and power. Every interaction becomes a sacred exchange, every connection an opportunity to express your truth with integrity and strength. You have learned to read the invisible scripts, to navigate the dance with ruthless grace, to face yourself without flinching. Now you walk beyond the test, beyond the need for validation, beyond the fear of failure. You are no longer a player in a game, but the architect of your own destiny. Your presence alone reshapes the terrain, bending reality to the force of your will. This is your call to ascend, to embody the quiet dominance that moves like a shadow, unseen but undeniable. To carry yourself with the dignity of one who knows the secret laws of power and connection. The world will test you again, as it always does, but you will meet it not with anxiety, but with mastery. You will walk through fire and emerge transformed, your spirit unbreakable, your purpose clear. The path of the master is solitary yet profound, dangerous yet illuminating. It demands relentless honesty, ruthless self-discipline, and an unwavering commitment to growth. But in return, it grants you the freedom to exist beyond fear, beyond doubt, beyond the chains that bind so many. Here, in this elevated state, you are the storm and the calm, the shadow and the light. Embrace this power. Let it guide you as you move forward, not as a man who merely survives the test, but as one who has transcended it, walking always toward the horizon of your own infinite potential. This is your new beginning. This is the mastery you were born to claim. Description: the path of the master. Walking beyond the test. You step into a silent arena where shadows whisper your deepest fears and truths. Here, your identity is both weapon and shield, constantly tested by unseen forces probing your core. This journey is not about survival. It's about transformation. You emerge not fractured, but whole, bearing the quiet certainty of one who wields psychological mastery and spiritual sovereignty. In this video, we unravel the invisible rules of power and presence, how emotional detachment and shadow work forge unshakable self-worth. You'll learn to navigate the labyrinth of perception, mastering inner silence as your greatest weapon against manipulation and doubt. This is philosophical healing that turns vulnerability into strength and chaos into calm. What you'll gain: the art of controlled ambiguity and strategic revelation mastery over your inner dialogue and emotional impulses, the strength to face vulnerability without surrender, how to wield silence as a source of power, deep spiritual clarity beyond ego and desire, psychological resilience against subtle emotional manipulation, the paradox of light and shadow within your identity. A new perspective on power as a sacred dance of connection. Walk beyond the test. Become the master of the unseen game. Like, share, and subscribe, because this transformation demands more than watching. It demands becoming. Tag show: women test men, secret tests women use, why men fail women's tests, emotional storytelling betrayal, psychological tests in relationships, reading subtle signs in dating, Machiavelli relationship advice, silent power dynamics, emotional vulnerability, men mastering ambiguity in love, heartbreak and self-awareness, revenge and personal growth, philosophy of power and control, karma in relationships, rebirth through heartbreak, emotional intelligence, men decoding women's behavior, invisible arena of attraction, silent tests in dating, controlling presence in relationships, inner strength and vulnerability, psychological games in love, mastering emotional resilience, men's insecurities exposed, subtle dominance in dating, power and perception, psychology, relationship tests explained, emotional storytelling psychology, self-mastery in love, facing personal darkness, transcending relationship tests, images, You step into an invisible arena where silence is a weapon, and every glance is a verdict. The weight of unspoken judgment tightens like a noose around your throat. Every hesitation fractures the fragile armor you wear against unseen eyes. Vulnerability is both your greatest risk and your deadliest weapon. In this silent war, the serpent of desire and fear coils within you, ready to strike or retreat. Power here is measured not in words, but in the absence between them. You walk blindfolded into a maze where the test begins before you even see it. The challenge lies not in what you reveal, but in what you carefully conceal. To be fully visible is to shatter. To vanish is to lose before the game starts. You become smoke, tangible enough to command, elusive enough to mystify. The real battlefield is beneath your facade, where shadows whisper your truth. Every smile hides a question, every silence seals a verdict. You are both predator and prey in a dance of light and shadow. The mask of mystery is your crown, not your shield. Clarity is a trap. Ambiguity is the fortress of kings. Silence roars louder than any desperate declaration. The pause between words is a crucible that tests your inner fire. You hold the room captive, not with speech, but with the weight of your stillness. Power is all, the language of absence, spoken fluently by the master of silence. The mirror shows no masks, only the raw, unfiltered face you dare not flee. Vulnerability is the battlefield where spirit breaks or transcends. Rage, shame, longing, all laid bare beneath unforgiving light. Honesty with yourself is the secret weapon no armor can replace. To own your darkness is to wield a fire that no force can extinguish. You stand steady even as the mirror cracks and distorts your reflection. The dance of restraint and presence is a sacred tension few survive. You speak mountains with words measured by silence. Mastery is knowing when to hold back and when to let silence speak. The eyes wait for a crack. You meet them with unshaken calm. Silence is not emptiness. It is the weight of unspoken authority. The unspoken words are weapons held with surgical precision. Fear of being misunderstood is the ghost you must confront alone. Each test is an invitation to shed the desperate need to be understood. Power flows from the balance of light and shadow you carry within. You are the architect of your mystery, not a pawn in another's game. Your presence weaves between clarity and enigma like a living riddle. The secret rules of power are written in the space between glances. You no longer react. You respond with quiet certainty. Fear dissolves into fearless clarity as doubt yields to conviction. The battlefield transforms into a stage where power moves with elegance. Balance, not domination, is the mark of the true sovereign. Your quiet flame burns deep, unseen, yet illuminating all around. Mirror demands one question: can you face yourself without flinching? The pain of honesty purifies, burning away the lies you carried. The softest honesty is the hardest resolve to maintain. You embrace chaos within, and from it, summon fierce indomitability. The path of mastery is solitary, dangerous, and profoundly illuminating. You walk above the fray, a sovereign in a realm most never glimpse. Every challenge is a mirror reflecting your growing mastery. This is your new beginning, mastery born from the silence of the unseen test.